Absolutely spot on. There was another thing today, there's a cult also of identity politics as well, Evelyn. Anthony Albanese's Assistant Minister for Women preaching anti-Dutton hate today. Have a look.
When I put my hat on as Assistant Minister for Women, is that Peter Dutton and the Liberals do not understand the lives of particularly modern Australian families and modern Australian working women.
God, their hate campaign against Dutton is just extreme. But an obvious question, Evelyn, rarely answered. Why do we have a Minister for Women and not a Minister for Men when you've got so many female ministers and when men die younger?
Look, we don't have a Minister for Men for one obvious reason. It's not advantageous politically. Once women secured the right to vote, politicians had to invent a whole world of injustices against women so that they had a purpose. And of course, Andrew, they presented themselves as the remedy for these injustices. Us poor defenceless women, we couldn't survive without these good-willed politicians that were going to save us from all of our oppression. We hear this every single election time. If you vote for the other guy, you know what, women, you're going to lose all those hard-earned rights that you fought decades for. It's hard to believe that this sort of stuff is genuine when it's a privilege that's only afforded to half of the population, especially like you mentioned, Andrew, that the other half of the population is more likely to be homeless, more likely to commit suicide, murdered, suffer more social isolation, substance abuse, overdose deaths, incarceration, unreported mental health conditions, and more likely to be falsely accused of a crime. But you know what? We're not allowed to talk about that because, my goodness, the oppression of women in this country is just out of control. But you know what? I think that we've all understood for a very long time, those of us with common sense, is that women these days who say these sorts of things, particularly in political circles, they're not looking for equality. They've had that for years. They're now looking for special privilege. And it's time we start calling it exactly for what it is. It's inequality.
Well, or they're looking for a job like, I don't know, Assistant Minister for Women. That's a good job. James McPherson, Evelyn Rae, thank you very much to you both, and have a great Easter.